Hello, all of my financially savvy friends. This is a training video on how to effectively manage our time and plan our time better. I'm really excited. This is the first training video that I'm recording for two audiences. So most of you know that I am the financial coach behind Fiscal Fitness, and you may be a client of mine. And a lot of my clients are looking to gain better control of their money. They're looking to make lifelong changes around their money. They're looking to set goals with their money. And I am your financial coach. And some of you also know that I am the founder and financial coach trainer behind Financial Coach Academy, where I train and mentor financial coaches to get even better results with your clients. A pretty normal thing for me in a day is to come up with some material for my clients and teach that to them, whether it's record a video or do a live Zoom call with them or just teach it during a one-on-one session with somebody. And then I will also go and deliver that exact same message to a group of financial coaches. So I duplicate a lot of my efforts. And I just decided this was a topic that many people have asked me about. And I thought, I'm just going to record it one time and I'm going to send it to both of you, because really what we all have in common is that we all have a love of controlling our money better and being a good steward of our money, whether that's because we do it for ourselves and we're learning, or because we're trying to help our clients just take the stress out of money as well. Either way, we have that in common. And you might be wondering why a budgeting coach is going to talk to you about budgeting your time. Why in the heck am I even diving into this topic? And I want to cover that first and foremost because I find that it is very important. If you know me, you know that I always have notes on the side of my screen because I can ramble and get off track sometimes. And so I am actually going to be looking onto the side a little bit. Don't mind me. That's what I'm doing, is I'm just making sure I'm staying on track. Okay. So why am I talking about time management? The two are very much linked. So somebody who's typically really busy, maybe isn't managing their time well, oftentimes isn't managing their money well either, or not managing their time well is something that is affecting their ability to properly plan with their money. It's likely that they're not spending both of them very well. It's costing a lot of money in lost opportunities. So if you're really busy, you might find that you're putting out fires, that you can't say yes to things that you want to say yes to. You find yourself easily distracted by the things that are urgent, even though they may not be that important. And a lot of times that can cost you extra money. Also, if you are busy and feel like you never have enough time, then chances are you are spending a lot of money for convenience sake. And convenience, while nice, is costly. There's usually a price to paying to get something faster, or to pay for next day shipping versus 1 week shipping because maybe we didn't plan ahead, right? That's just one example, and it happens all across the board. So these things are actually very connected. I find that they go hand in hand. And while I always start with coaching clients on their finances and getting on a budget, getting out of debt, getting on a plan with their money, it is very normal that at some point we end up going into time management. There are times where money is the number one challenge that a person is experiencing. Overspending, not knowing where their money is going, not really knowing how they're spending their paycheck. That is sometimes the number one challenge for a client. And then there are times where that is simply a symptom of not managing their time well. And we have to sometimes conquer both. Not always. You'll have those clients, and I do have those clients that are really good at managing their time. And even if that's you, even if you feel like you manage your time really well and you've got enough time to conquer everything you want, keep watching this video because I hope you'll get some ideas and strategies that you can then just take your time management system up a notch, because I definitely think that I'm going to offer some really good tips and tools for you guys. Okay, I'm going to go into how I manage my time and my calendar. I feel like just as busy as everybody else as a family. I'm always amazed at how much coordination life takes. Coordination to run the business, coordination to manage our time personally, coordination to even plan an upcoming vacation and that sort of thing, the doctor's appointments, the hair appointments. just life, right? It's amazing to me how much coordination it can sometimes take. And I find it's really important to manage our time well, the more we get done. People say to me all the time, like, I don't know how you get so much done, and you run circles around people and all of that. And while I don't always think that's true, I do know that our system for managing our time in our family and in our business works really well. And so I'm going to share that with you, okay, along with a couple tweaks that you can make in case there's things that I do that you don't necessarily think will serve you well, okay? The other thing I want to say about managing our time is chances are you're listening to this video and you've made some really great financial progress yourself because you're a client, or you are helping your clients make financial changes. And one of the things we probably have all seen and witnessed and experienced with money is that when we budget, we immediately find more. It feels like we got a raise. And, you know, clients say all the time, like, how did I get this money? Where was this money before? And it feels like I found a whole bunch of money when I started to plan my money and budget my money. We immediately feel like we have more of it, right? Now, what if I were to tell you that the same thing holds true for your time? As soon as you start to plan your time better, as soon as you start to budget your time or time block, you will feel like you immediately just got more time each day. You didn't. There's still the same number of hours in a day for all of us, but it will feel like you're getting more done, that you have more hours in the day. And so I hope that that is a really good motivation for you to keep watching and to put some systems in place for managing your time and your calendar really effectively. Even if it feels like right now you just don't have time to even think about that, or you're watching this video and you're thinking about hitting stop because you've got a million things you need to go do, keep watching because you'll get more done by properly managing your time, okay? So let's dive in. Okay. I came up with 9 strategies that I want to share with you guys for effectively managing your time. The first is to make a 10-minute task list. This can be on a sheet of paper on your desk. It can be on your calendar. It doesn't matter where it is. This is a list of tasks that take 10 minutes or less to complete. It is a list that likely doesn't change all that often. So once you create it, you can sometimes add to it. But for the most part, you just want to keep this handy because you're going to have it next to you at all times. The idea here is, if you're not careful, those 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there can really be a time suck. I mean, you can have 10-minute time slots during your day, and it can feel really hard to start something if you know you only have 10 minutes. And so you end up wasting those 10 minutes. I find most of my clients find this time on Facebook or Instagram. They definitely are not spending this time really effectively. And so what I want you to do is make a list of all the tasks that take you 10 minutes or less. And the idea is that if you find yourself having 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, you know, in between appointments or something like that, you tackle as many of these things as possible. So things like checking your email. And again, not that you're going to check all of the emails in your inbox possibly, but you can get through a few of them. Maybe listening to a few minutes of a podcast. If you have a podcast that you love and the episodes are 30 minutes or less, if you use these 10 minutes effectively, you could get through a number of podcasts in a day. And imagine how much better you'd feel, smarter you'd feel, more inspired you feel by listening to some of these podcasts out there, okay? Moving over the laundry, unloading the dishwasher. If you work from home, some of these things could be really effective. That way you don't have to spend time every night at the end of the day accomplishing these things. Maybe jotting down some notes for an upcoming lesson. I do this a lot. You know, I will spend 10 minutes researching an upcoming topic and just bookmarking the articles I want to come back to later when I have more time to like fully read them and digest them or something like that. But you can at least start doing some research or jotting down notes for like an upcoming topic that you're trying to research, whether that's for your job or for your clients and that kind of thing. So that is your 10-minute task list. If you do not have one of those, that is the first thing I want you to do, because when you find yourself having 10 minutes or less, the idea is that making the most of those 10 minutes and being productive will really help, okay? I have clients update their budget. Like just log into your bank account, log into your budget, and at least get a few things updated in those 10 minutes. The better we get at updating our budget, my clients learn, the faster you can do it. And oftentimes, if you only have 10 minutes, you're done in those 10 minutes anyway. And you at least don't feel like, now you have this burden of, oh my God, and I still need to update my budget. Okay. There can be a number of things, like maybe I'm going to pay some bills. I'm going to transfer money to savings. I'm going to begin researching Christmas gifts that I want to buy for Christmas. So it can be a number of things on your list that will really help you stay productive in those 10 minutes. I had a financial coach that in her scheduling software, she always did 50-minute appointments. And they always started on the hour. So if you can imagine, she was always having these 10-minute breaks in between. And the idea is it can be really hard to go from one appointment to the next. I get that not everybody wants to do that. But if you're not going from one appointment to the next like I do, then you really want to make sure that you are making the most of that break. Maybe you're using the bathroom, filling up your water, but then you still might have 7 or 8 minutes left to get some really good work done and feel like you're making some progress. Okay. The second thing that I want to say is using a calendar. Now, I will tell you guys that you are looking at a lover of Franklin Covey. My Franklin Covey planner was leather bound. I loved getting the new pages every single year. It was my jam for probably 10 years. And I am going to recommend, if you are a paper planner person, the next step I'm going to show you is all about using an electronic calendar, like a Google Calendar kind of thing, which I know, trust me, it breaks my heart to tell you that if I did not have the level of coordination in my life that it requires, I would totally use a Franklin Covey planner. But with the benefit of an electronic calendar is everybody can see it. Your husband can have one, your spouse can have one, rather, my husband, of course, and we can see each other's. I have multiple team members. I can see their calendar. So I know what's going on at all different times, and we can really help each other manage our time more effectively. I'm not going to keep giving one of my team members more tasks and more projects if I can see that she's got 10 things in the hopper already. And if we're all time blocking, I can see what she's got going on and she can see what I have going on, okay? So using something electronic really helps. Not only that, but if I add something to my calendar, if I'm on the road one day and I add a meeting with a client, or I'm doing some networking and I add a phone call with somebody, and I'm writing it down in my Franklin Covey planner, and then my assistant is at the office scheduling appointments, we could easily duplicate efforts if we're not using an electronic system. So trust me, I get the love of a Franklin Covey planner, and I think there could be a time and place in that in your life. But when it comes to appointments and time blocking, and managing maybe different aspects of our life all together, then I don't necessarily think it works as effectively as something electronically. And again, I did not jump on that bandwagon for the longest time. I fought that for the longest time. So I'm going to actually show you now how I manage my calendar. And I'm going to just show you some images. I'm going to pull it up here, just one second, and I'm going to show you how I do this. And I'm going to hop around a little bit with my 9 suggestions, because when I show this to you, I'm actually going to tackle a few of those at a time, okay? So let me pull up my calendar here. So everybody should see my calendar now. And I do use Google Calendar. I love the Google Suite items. There are some other options, but I personally just love Google. And so that's the one I'm going to recommend. The first thing I want to show you is the different calendars over here. So you can see the color coding happening. And what's happening is each type of calendar has a different color, and you can set this. So I can have personal, I can have my coach Jill, Columber is our rental property, so I've got notes in there for that, things that we need to do, announcements, so if I have like day off or that's a working day, you can see over here, that's its own color. I do one Saturday a month, so that's obviously in there. Tasks, so I have a specific one for tasks, and you can add all of these. So you can have personal and work and fitness, you can actually add in your workouts and that sort of thing. The Calsadicki one, that's like my work. That's the main one. That is my calendar that just about everybody sees. That's where my client appointments and all of that. Now, what I want to show you, the first thing that we do is we schedule that. The second thing that I do is I use up here the all day section for my tasks. So what I mean by that is I can go, and if up here I click, oh, this is an image, so I can't click, sorry. You would click and you would add to your task calendar, this one over here, you would add whatever you want to try and get done for that day. So maybe it's call 3 prospects, maybe it's go to a networking event, maybe it's record a video or record a podcast episode or do some research on something. You can actually add all of your tasks right to the top, okay? And then what I do is every Sunday, I go through and time block my calendar. And I cannot stress this enough. Time blocking is simply finding blocks of time throughout your day and deciding ahead of time what it is that you are going to do during that time. The first step you want to do is really just do broad themes. So you can see one of the things that I love to do with my time is create content, things like this video, right? And so content creation time on Sunday, I go through and I make sure that I've got some blocks of time where I'm actually doing that. Now, if I were to click on this appointment, in the description, you will see what it is that I wanted to accomplish during those 3 hours. Okay, so and obviously recording this training video would be listed as number 1 because that's what I'm doing first. Okay, it can be, I think one of the other things is research a topic for a training for next week. So content creation, you literally put that on there. Now, there are a few recommendations for how much time should you block off at one time. And I find that this is truly personal preference. Some clients do like a 25 or 30-minute time block. So if you have a break right here and a break right here, you're going to put in there what it is that you're going to do. Maybe it's go for a walk. Maybe it's make a phone call. You know, maybe it's go to the post office, that kind of thing. But you're actually going to block off your time. And I would say start with 30-minute increments, because what you want to do is you want to teach yourself that what you can do is trust your follow through and your commitment to your schedule. Okay. So the smaller that you start, the easier it gets to be like, this is just 30 minutes. I can do it. Okay. Now, the bigger a project is, I find that the more time I want to block off. My ideal time frame for me is 90 minutes. I find 90 minutes is a really great block of time. If I do 30 minutes, I find that sometimes I'm just diving in and getting comfortable and getting in the groove of something, and then the 30 minutes is up. So I find 90 minutes is really great. You might want to try 1 hour blocks of time, and you might want to try 90 minutes. You will see that this week I've got some 3-hour blocks of time. That's not always possible depending on your schedule. It just so happens that the way my schedule was created this week, you know, based on when other clients were scheduling, is that I actually have some bigger chunks of time in there, which does not usually happen. Usually it's like an hour here, an hour there, 90 minutes here, 90 minutes there. And on Sunday, I'm going to go through and I'm going to decide ahead of time, like, what am I going to do during that time? Okay, what am I going to spend my time on? The idea of time blocking and saying on a Sunday that I'm going to plan my time, it feels in some way counterintuitive. On a Sunday, I'm going to spend 20 minutes blocking my time when I already feel like I don't have time. But what happens is you're becoming more proactive, and instead of reacting all the time and putting out fires and only managing whatever feels most urgent in that moment, and then looking back at the week and being like, where did the week go? Taking those 20 minutes to proactively plan your time for the week will immensely create more time. You'll feel so much more productive. You'll feel proud of what you accomplished, because what you're deciding to spend your time on is truly what is a priority to you. Because when you're rational and logical and not spinning your wheels and just running around like crazy, then you actually decide ahead of time what's most important and demanding of your time. Okay. So you'll see I do 3-hour blocks of time. I call it content creation time. So another tip that I have for you is to be creative with what you call this time block. Call it something that is really motivating to you, something that's very inspiring to you. I used to, and sometimes I still do, call it my massive reach time, because I want to reach as many people as possible. I want to help as many people as possible to stress less over money, whether that's by helping my clients who are listening to this, or you coaches who are then going and helping your clients. My goal is massive reach. And so sometimes what I will call it on my calendar is massive reach, okay? I will block it off, because that for me is also those tasks that can easily be put off. There's no deadline for them. You guys, didn't know half the projects I'm working on, so I don't have anybody expecting them from me. I could easily procrastinate them if I wanted to. But by putting them on my calendar ahead of time, I find that it's a lot of time for it, and it's harder to avoid that project. Okay. So you're going to go through on a Sunday and you're going to block off as much time as you can. And then inside of the time block, try to decide ahead of time what it is that you're going to spend your time on. And now you can absolutely do like a systems time or an organizational time, an operations time, let's say. And in there, you can have it say, I'm going to clean up my inbox. I'm going to organize my Acuity calendar. I'm going to do all of these things. If it comes down to like the operations, it might feel like a few different random projects or systems based that create efficiency, but I would still put that on my calendar ahead of time. Okay. Let's see here. So the nice thing about putting your tasks at the top of your calendar like that, I want to show you guys that again. Up here is that every day I can see what it is that I wanted to accomplish that day. Some of these things happen on a weekly or every other week or once a month cycle, and you can set it to be a reminder. So like some of these things happen every Thursday or every other Thursday because that's when the client gets paid. And so it shows up every single time. I don't have to keep writing it over and over and over again on a to-do list, okay? The other thing that I do is I change these to red when they're done. So I put them up there and then I change them to red when I've completed them. So I like to look back on a week and be like, oh, it's all red up there. All of my tasks got completed. They start off as purple. That is my tasks calendar, you can see. So when I go in there and I put it as a task, it shows up as purple. And when I change it to red, which is just, you literally just click on this and change it to red, it's super fast. I feel like I've accomplished something. It's like crossing something off on my to-do list, but then being able to look back and be like, look at everything that I accomplished this week. The other thing that I do is some of these items will actually get put into a time block. So on Thursday, I probably had a lot more tasks up here, but what I did is I put them inside of this appointment right here because those are the things I'm going to try and get done during that 3.5 hour time block. I should probably put in their lunch because I will likely eat lunch during that time as well. So, but you get the idea. Okay. So hopefully you guys use that. I'm going to take it back now to my list of items that I want to share with you, and we're going to dive into a couple more of these things, okay? I really recommend color coding your calendar. So I know the colors that you just saw on my calendar don't mean anything to you, but just by pulling that up, I can tell you how many hours am I spending on marketing that week? How many hours am I spending with clients? How many hours am I spending on personal type tasks? That content creation time, if that's a light blue, if I look back on my week and I don't see any light blue, I should be mad at myself. Okay, that should be a reflection of me not making that a priority, which is, that to me is a priority in my life. I want to create more and more content for all of you. And if I'm not spending any time doing that, then that's a problem. And the cool thing with color coding is it makes it a glance, right? So you can easily see I have no blue time. I have no red time. One of the things I've started doing now that physical fitness is growing and we have a team of people is I have a CEO calendar. There are certain responsibilities that I now have as the owner of a company and people who are depending on me. And there are certain things, whether that's training my team, reaching out for efficiency things, doing business development type items that I need to be doing that maybe 5 years ago I didn't need to do. And so I really want to make sure that I am stepping into that role as CEO, and that's a different color on my calendar so that I can make sure I'm not shying away from that, okay? So try to color code as much as possible. Let's see, add the task to your calendar. And again, you're going to want to do that as a full day task. That is totally free. So one of the things that I started doing probably 8 months ago was using a task manager called Todoist, Todoist. The thing with doing the tasks on your Google Calendar the way I was showing you is that that's free. It's a totally free option to do that. The thing with Todoist is that in order for it to sync with your calendar, is that there's a fee for doing that. It may be totally worth it for you. It is now totally worth it for me, but you don't have to do that. Okay, so it's just an idea. Todoist, you can have like a tasks project, and you can have just that one folder or just that one project sync with your calendar. You don't have to have all of them sync with your calendar. So that's just one topic. Okay, so one kind of suggestion. If you want to take it up a notch, you can do that. Okay, so putting some sort of routine in place is my next strategy for you. Like I said, we sit down every Sunday and we plan our week ahead. Life, like I said, just requires so much coordination. And I find that by doing that, Michael and I are on the same page. We're more supportive of one another. If he can see that I have an insanely busy week, that is not the week that he's going to add a project to my calendar. Okay. It's just something that we can really help support each other. I can help him by reminding him of things like, hey, don't forget you got your hair appointment or your haircut on Thursday. When we're talking about things, it just makes life so much easier. The other thing, the reason that this was really supportive from a budgeting standpoint is you can see all of those appointments on your calendar. So some of those things might have a cost. If the dog's got a grooming appointment, do we have that on our budget? If there's a doctor's appointment, do we have the copay, the haircut, those types of things? And I would say that if it's a really crazy week, is this the week where we want to buy a lot of groceries and say that we're also going to cook every meal at home? Or should we be honest with ourselves and plan to eat out a bit more? And if that's the case, let's not spend a lot on groceries this week. Okay. And I think that that is one of those areas where they tend to be very connected, the way you manage your time versus how much you spend on food. People, if they're not aware of a crazy week coming up, from a time and commitment perspective, then they're going to go grocery shopping. They're going to have the best of intentions of like cooking at home every meal. And then they find that it gets wasted and they ate out anyway. And that's like a double whammy that you bought all these groceries, you didn't consume them, that costs money, and you spent money on eating out anyway. Okay. So I think it's just one way of being realistic with ourselves. I have to sneeze. There's usually two, right? Nope. Okay. Just kidding. All right. Create a schedule and boundaries and try to stick to it. So one of the things that I do is Tuesdays are my project days. I don't schedule client appointments on Tuesdays. That does not mean Tuesdays are a free-for-all. So if you would have looked at my Tuesday on the calendar, it should have been mostly all blue, which is marketing time, content and creation time, CEO time. I will time block a Tuesday to make sure that all of a sudden it's like I start the day thinking I've got 8 hours. By the end of it, I'm like, where'd the day go? And I feel like I didn't accomplish anything. That is the opposite of what you want to do for that. But you could set boundaries as far as I'm going to have appointments available from this time to this time, 3 nights a week. For those of you who are coaching as a side hustle, this is super important because your time is so limited. You really need to decide, when am I meeting with clients and when am I working on my business? Okay. When am I spending time with my family, right? Because now I'm working like 2 jobs at one time. It's really important that you time block, set a schedule and stick to it. If you want to see clients on a Saturday morning or a Saturday afternoon, or maybe all day on a Saturday, put that in there. But make sure you're being honest with yourself. The nice thing about using a scheduling software, this is for business owners, is that it's not up to you. So if a client says, hey, can you do Saturday at 4, and you were really hoping to be done at 3, if you're like me, you want to say yes because you want to help that person, right? But if you say, here's the scheduling link, go ahead and find a time that works for you, it's not up to you to say yes or no. The schedule is the schedule. They can find the time that works for them. And chances are they will find a time that works for them. Okay. So use a scheduling software, decide how you want to block your time and build that into the scheduling software. That way, that's what clients see. They don't see, oh, she's got 3 hours of content creation time. I'm just going to call her during that time, right? You don't really want that to happen. So let's see. When it comes to time blocking, a couple of the other suggestions as far as like categories or themes. So maybe self-care time. If that is something that you need to make sure you're spending some energy on, is taking care of yourself, build that right into your calendar. Project days, email cleanup time. Like I said, whether it's like operations time or blogging time, right? So all of these different things, think about what it is that you really want to be focusing on. around your life and the themes, and then put that on your calendar from a time block perspective. And then I take it a step further, like I said, and inside of that time block, I actually write down the things I want to accomplish during that time. And not that I get through all of them, but I know that if I don't have a list at all, then I'm probably just going to wing it, and that's not good for me either. My personality is that I will add more to a time block than is probably realistic to accomplish. Because I know if I give myself an hour to accomplish something, it'll take me an hour. If I give myself 2 hours, it will take me 2 hours. So by saying I am going to accomplish these 4 things in this 90 minutes, chances are I may not get through all of them, but I'm going to get pretty darn close. Where if I only give myself 2 things to work on during that same 90 minutes, it will take me 90 minutes to complete those 2 things. That is simply my personality. I find that to be very true for a lot of my clients. And so from that perspective, try that for yourself in the sense of like putting a lot of things down, even if it might not be totally realistic for you to accomplish all of them. And if you don't accomplish something, just move it to the next block of time. Okay, so move it to the next time block. I really do find that that works best for any of us who are overthinkers, somewhat indecisive, maybe perfectionists, and we could tweak things endlessly. If you give yourself, let's say, 30 minutes to work on something, and at the end of 30 minutes, it's just got to be good enough or done enough, then chances are it's going to be really good versus like if you give yourself a whole nother 30 minutes to work on it, by that time, like it might look somewhat better, but not that it took double the amount of time to complete it. Okay, it's not worth it. Think about your natural energy levels. Block off the projects that are hardest for you to tackle during the times where you tend to have the most energy, when you are the most creative, when you are the best at problem solving or brainstorming. Just think about when that is for you. I tend to do that at night. So in the morning, I work on routine projects a lot easier. Things that kind of get me up to speed. Things I do on a regular recurring basis. I could probably do it with my eyes closed sort of feeling. That's what I do in the morning. It kind of like jumpstarts my day. And then at night, I find that my ideas, it's like my brain is hard to even shut off, okay? And I get a lot of ideas and I'm very creative at night. And so I try to block some of that stuff off at night, okay? If you tend to have a lull in your energy at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that is probably not the time where you want to be recording a training video like this, and you've got to have high energy for your clients, and you want to be dynamic and bring it. That is probably not the time to do it, okay? So just a little tip there. Lump similar tasks together into one block. That's called batching. So if you have to do a project, then you have to be really creative versus a project where you have to be really analytical. You probably don't want to put those in the same time block. You want to try and think about similar tasks all at one time. So for example, like this is my streamlining time or my operations time. I'm going to just go through and just organize a bunch of different things. That's kind of the mindset that you're in during those 90 minutes. And so batch all of those types of responsibilities or tasks together. Okay. Let's see, just different intervals for different people, different strokes for different folks. 25 minutes for something for some people, 90 minutes for others. I really find, like I said, that my content creation time, I want to spend at least 90 minutes on that stuff because by the time I really dive into it, I don't want to stop. Once I get the bug, like I'm going and I just want to keep that momentum where it's at. Okay. And like I said, title it something that's really meaningful and inspiring to you. Another sort of quick rule is block off free time. Now, free time is simply time that you are saying during this time I can do whatever I want. So whatever feels right at the time. And now this kind of feels counterintuitive again because you're planning time to not plan, right? But that's exactly the idea. So for those of you who like the idea of being sporadic, that you like the idea of going, flying by the seat of your pants, and the thought of planning every minute of your life like is completely stressful and sounds tedious and boring to you, this is going to help with that. Block off time where it's like for this 30 minutes or this 1 hour, I can do whatever I want. And it's whatever I feel like doing when that time comes. Do I want to plan Instagram for 30 minutes, right? Do I want to binge on Netflix, my favorite show, for an hour? And after an hour, wherever I'm at in the middle of the episode, I have to hit pause. I can come back to it later, kind of thing. Do I feel like going for a walk? Do I feel like going to work out during that time? Do I feel like working on my business? So that's the thing. The beautiful thing about free time is that it's time for you to do whatever you feel like doing when that time comes. But that time could be productive. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you are piddling it away, okay? You may feel like doing that during that time, and that's totally okay. Maybe you go get a pedicure or a manicure. Maybe you go get your hair cut because it's been bothering you or something like that. But the idea, maybe you want to just shop on Amazon. Be careful with that, right? Or play around on the internet, okay? The idea is that it gives you the freedom so that during the times where you have allotted your time, it's easier to stick to it because you know you've built in that flexibility as well, okay? Create, this is one of the things I love. I love that I do this. Okay, create bookmarks, but create folders for the bookmarks based on your time blocks. So I know that that was a sentence full, so let me go ahead and say that again. For your bookmarks on your internet. So whether that's Facebook or Instagram or different website blogs you like to read on personal finance or business entrepreneurship type podcasts or something like that, and you likely have a bookmark that you've saved for it. Updating your budget, checking your bank account websites, all of the different financial websites you use, right? Any number of things. Go ahead and you likely create a bookmark for that already. But now what I want you to do is I want you to have different folders for your bookmarks, but I want it to be based on what you would do as your themes for your time block. So for example, I have a content creation, I think it's actually called Massive Reach, because again, that's what I used to call it, my Massive Reach folder. And in that are different websites that I can go to during that time for inspiration, whether that's quotes. It's like Canva, because chances are I'm going to create a handout during that time. You know, any number of websites. And during my content creation time block, that is the only bookmark folder I can go to. I also have a social folder, and that's where my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and, you know, all that stuff is. But during any other time block that I have, whether that's my CEO time block, my content creation time block, I cannot click on the social folder, okay? One of the things that I've done is during my marketing time, you know, I have Let's Get Fiscal Facebook group. I've got Financial Coaches Unite Facebook group. I've got Financial Coach Academy. Participants have their own Facebook group. And during my marketing time or my engagement time, and again, this is a really good tip or a good example of titling your time blocks for things that are motivating to you. Marketing as a word is not that inspiring for me, right? But engagement is very inspiring for me. I want to be engaged. I want to build communities with my clients and with coaches and all of that. And so I don't call it my marketing time. I call it my engagement time. Okay. So during my engagement time on my calendar, when I block that time off, I can go to the engagement folder and I can go to the Facebook bookmark, but it goes to Financial Coaches Unite. So it doesn't just take me to the base Facebook, right? Which is like down the rabbit hole of reading what's going on in everyone's life that I knew from high school that I don't really even keep in touch with anymore. Okay. So that's a really good tip, is to use your bookmarks. And it's simply an accountability measure, you guys. Like if I know I'm supposed to be doing content creation and I click on that social folder, it's like, ding, I'm probably procrastinating right now, right? And it just really helps to manage your own expectations for yourself a lot better. One of my mantras, and I really talk with clients a lot about this, is if it's not hell yes, then it's no. This has been ever important since I had Carmen. And before I had Carmen, I would say yes to so many things. And maybe I didn't want to do them or didn't really love the idea of doing them. Maybe it was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Fine, whatever, you know. And then Carmen was born, and I find that time is so much more limited. And so now my mantra is that if it is not hell yes, when someone asks me to do something, if my answer is not hell yes, then the answer is no. And saying no is a really tough thing. You know, women especially, we feel like we have to justify it or we have to say yes. And there's just so many mindset things around this. This is like a whole nother training video, right? And I'll write that down because I think that that's a great training video. But for the most part, the idea is that If my time is limited, then I have to put the things that are hell yes first. Hey, if I have extra time and I find myself spending it doing something that wasn't hell yes, that's totally okay. But only when I get to that point am I allowed to do that. And chances are that's not going to happen. Chances are we all have a lot of things that we would love to dive into deeper, that is so much more important for us. And so we want to put those things first. Okay. And that is a really good answer. Like, I'll think about that when I get time. Right. And maybe the answer is no, like it's never going to find the time to make that a priority for you. Okay. So that's just simply one mental block for you that you can maybe overcome. Let's see. So time management overall, I hope this gave you guys some good ideas to start by managing your time a little bit better. Okay. My recommendation is to start by, if you're not doing anything at all right now, start with 1 day ahead. Just 1 day ahead, right? Like just block the next day and see how you do. The more you can start to trust yourself that you're going to follow through on just the next day, the easier it is to start doing 1 week out. And my mantra with time management is the same as budgeting. The goal is not perfection. There will be times where something feels like it has taken over and it feels like you have to address it. And it has to trump what you were planning to do in that moment, okay? But you don't want that to be the theme. You don't want that to be the norm. That should be the exception, okay? The idea is that if we can plan for 75% of what we have coming up financially, then the other 25% will be easier to tackle. And the same concept happens for time. If I can plan 75% of my time pretty darn near perfectly to accomplish the things that I truly want to accomplish, the other 25% of whammies that happen, I will be able to tackle them and I'll find the time to do it, right? Some people block their time like every single minute of their day. And if you guys saw mine, I don't do that. So I do not, if I've got, a white space here and a white space there, I think that that's okay. I don't block my time precisely to the minute because I know that every day there's going to be 1 or 2 things that probably pop up that I need to address. Maybe I need to have a phone call with my assistant regarding a conversation she had with a prospect and they have questions and I need to follow up. Like those kinds of things need to happen. And we don't always know about them. And so I don't plan every single appointment, but you may choose to. There is an article, if you guys have ever read the book about Elon Musk, who I'm fascinated by. He manages multiple businesses, very successful businesses. I think he has 4 kids, 5 kids, something, multiple kids. So very busy guy. And he blocks his time every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes. It's fascinating to me that he has to sort of be at that level of preciseness in order to accomplish what he accomplishes. And there's no wonder he's as successful as he is because of that, okay? Now, again, I don't go to that degree, but maybe that's something that you want to consider. Try to pick the interval that works for you. I have found that a minimum of 25 or 30 minutes is where to start. And then if you've got the 10 or 15 minutes that are open, that's when you default to that 10-minute task list that you want to create, okay? I would love to hear from you. Let me know what you think of this and how it works for you and what questions you have. This is a perfect example, just like budgeting and managing our money, where everybody has something different happening for their schedule and their time. So ask questions. I can give you feedback. I can make some suggestions for you that might be some tweaks to this idea that we have of time blocking and using Google Calendar. But I would love to hear from you. And let me know if you feel like you've found more hours in your day after putting in place some of these strategies. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning into this video.